good time.
It was just dumb.
But speaking, besides you brought up the Breonna Taylor incident, are you following it?
No, because I knew nothing was gonna happen.
Yeah.
So I didn't decide to follow it. I didn't decide to have any
Toby, did you follow the Breonna Taylor case?
any expectations or
followed it up to a point.
I just left it alone.
Like, I mean, how that puts everything. Obviously, okay, like, what question is specifically? Like, just my view on.
Do you think the cops should have been charged for murder?
I mean, here is the problem. Other, I mean,
I'm also afraid to touch this one.
let me just put it like this, and everyone be smart, go out and do your own research. Basically, other facts have come out, which kind of contradicts the things we know. But let me just say this really quickly. It doesn't justify her being killed because
I agree.
it doesn't justify her being killed. But other facts.
Here's my thing, and you know, fact no fact. My thing is, I still believe my problem is not with the American police, like as a whole. Like even when people say defund the police, I support it to an extent, but I'm not saying like the reason I support defunding the police to an extent is because it's like, first of all, you look at the police and the amount of money they spend on gear.
Let me please make up like a quick
Yeah, go
something
on.
very quick to what you said. Like, yeah, like the whole thing about defund the police. I mean, they actually can be an argument to be made in a sense,
Yeah.
just like you're saying. But I'll tell you my own like brutal, frank, honest opinion about defund the police. What I see is a class divide in this whole defund the police thing.
Okay.
It's mainly people who are never going to suffer from not having cops around who are pushing this thing. Because
Yes,
if you should
you're
speak
right.
to many black people, and when I say black people, I don't mean people who appear on TV or people who are doing quite well, like working class black people. They will say on one side that yes, we agree with everything you guys are saying about the justice system, how
Oh, yeah,
effed up it is.
the
but
police,
you
yeah.
guys, if you take the cops away, it's
So-
game day on us.
Yeah, but that
So
defund the
people
police
should-
is so that's the thing is, but I'm not saying take the cops away or have your own people police each other, blah blah. But I'm saying when we look at, I'll give you an example. I was on a flight from Lagos to London one time, and the guy I happened to sit next to was an immigration guy, and you know, because my allergies had kicked in, and it was like, oh, I'm a medical blah blah blah. I have medication I could treat you. So I was like, oh, what are you even doing on the flight?
Yeah.
It was like he just escorted a deportee to Nigeria, and he was on his way back. And I was like, oh, how is that? Explain, And the first thing, he was like, oh, where are you from? Like, I live in America. I was like, okay. And the first thing he said is, it's not as brutal or as forceful as Americans. And what I'm getting to is the way American police are trained, ICE, everybody, it's like they have no
They're very
compassion. They're very
militant.
militant wise. And you look at the equipment they have. These
Yeah.
people get trained with military-like equipment, and they get military gear.
Some people argue that the reason why that is because we have a citizenry that's very armed.
Okay, so, but then then that's where the race thing then comes into, is because you see, I remember that experiment they did in Texas where they gave the same guns to a group of white people, walk the streets, they were fine, but give the same guns to a group of black people, everyone gets on the floor now. So it's like, fine, we understand that we come from a society but if you're giving someone else that power to say, okay, we need you to be more powerful than the citizens, well, we can't have you be biased at the same point, because now you have so much manpower.
The
So
standards should be higher for them.
so that's why I feel like the problem with the police, and why I say these things, is I don't want police to go away. If I get robbed, I want to call the police. But I feel like the police should be held accountable to a certain extent, just because they're too forceful, they're too physical, there's no compassion. There's no compassion. It feels like they have no compassion for and that's what that guy said. He was like, when we want to deport somebody, we go to your house, we knock the door, we try to do this, but like, it's like what I see on TV is Americans break down the whole thing.
Did you watch the Netflix documentary?
Which one?
That looked at immigrants that were being deported? I didn't watch it. I just heard it
I
was.
didn't watch it.
Yeah, I
It's
heard it was.
probably
I heard it was pretty
gruesome. I mean.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
pretty
I
effed
can
up.
imagine. I've seen videos of ICE raid. Like, there's no. If one of us was an illegal immigrant, they're gonna break down inside the house, throw you on the floor. In the process, yes, my head might hit this table.
Yeah.
and that's it.
But let's go back to the Breonna Taylor thing. I do think it's important for us to dispel certain rumors that were out there.
What are the rumors?
Now there was this one thing that I always heard, because I thought the death didn't make sense. Like, I always heard that they went to her house by mistake.
Yeah, that was the rumor.
It turns out that was a rumor. It turns out that was a rumor. It turns out they actually had a search warrant for her house, so they actually intended to go to her house. So then the second rumor that I heard was that they didn't knock on the door; they just barged in.
According to neighbors,
Yes,
they didn't hear knocking, but
They didn't hear
at
knock-
that point
knocking.
in time, it's early in the morning or late. It's
Yeah.
hard for you to
Yes.
pay attention. Yeah.
but I mean, but that has been put into question now, that they didn't knock on the door, because they said
Do
that
they
there
have
was
police?
one neighbor.
Do they have body? Did they have body
See,
cam?
now they didn't have body cams. They don't have. If they did, they haven't released the body cams yet.
Suspicious, but yeah.
The other rumor that I kept hearing was that she was asleep in her bed
But now
when
man,
she
was
got
standing
killed.
up next to.
But now it sounds like really wasn't the case. That she was standing next to the guy, in the hallway. Another thing that I heard was that he shot at them, but I didn't know that he actually hit one of them.
Yeah, he did. That was
I
already
didn't know.
in the.
Oh, it was already out there.
Already the first thing.
I was under the impression
so
that he
the
just
thing
shot,
was
and then
that the police-
and then they heard a gunshot, and they
So
were
thing-
just
this
shooting
was
back.
his story was that they barged in
Yes.
unannounced, and he was scared that he was getting robbed or something. So obviously, he tried to defend himself.
Now it's important for us to know that he is a legal carrying,
Of course, yeah. So
gun owner.
he tried
So
to defend himself.
him doing that wasn't necessarily illegal, and I think that's probably why they dropped the charges.
yeah, he didn't do anything.
So we're back to Breonna. Breonna ended up getting killed in the shootout, and I guess the real question is, we want justice, but I don't know what justice looks like. Is what I'm trying to figure
Yeah, but
out.
the problem, and that's why I say maybe isolating. So it's like, and that's why I don't get, too. I don't want to say attached or too isolated on a case, because Breonna Taylor is not necessarily about Breonna Taylor.
Okay.
It's about the fact that
other things have
other
happened
things
in the
have
past
happened
that have been
see
questionable.
the George Floyd well, okay, fine, he spent fake money. That was his offense, but why should you spending counterfeit money lead to you dying?
Yeah.
In the arms of police, at least not on something like, why should mundane things like this? Why should you? What's the name of the lady, the one that got pulled over and mysteriously died in her cell?
Yeah.
Why
Sandra Bland.
Sandra Bland, yeah. Why should cases like this? Why should that happen? Why should I get pulled over and feel like this might be my last day on earth? Yes, I committed a traffic offense or whatever it is,
Yeah.
but that should not result in me dying. So it's an accumulation of a lot of these
It's
things.
accumulation. So it's not. So you're saying that it's not just
Breonna.
Breonna just happens to be one of the tipping
Yes,
points.
and then it becomes a case of, this was not a girl who you were looking for herself. This was not.
No, they were looking for her. Is what I'm saying.
Sorry, they were looking for her.
Yeah.
Okay, what did she do?
They had a search warrant for her
So
arrest.
they already-
Sorry. They had a search warrant for her property.
Okay, because we're looking for her ex.
Again, these are things that recently came out that I didn't know, because I was under the impression that it was a mistake. The ex had different places that he used to go to, so they had been tracking the ex, and one of the houses that he went to was Breonna's house.
Okay.
They had also tracked phone conversations between him and Breonna.
Okay.
They had also tracked, he had used Breonna's car to go allegedly to.
That makes sense. I believe
Yeah.
all that. Yeah.
So
If- I mean, well, it
as
makes
a
sense,
result,
yeah.
so whenever they want to nab these drug dealers, they go to
go to all
all
the places.
their properties.
But did they already have him in custody at the point he went to Breonna's house?
They did, but it wasn't just him in custody. They wanted to take all the evidence. That's why they had a search warrant for that property. It's not necessarily they were looking. I mean, yes, they were looking for him, but it's not necessarily the only intent was to find him. They had her name was also on the warrant. I just found that out
As
too.
an arrest for her?
No, not an arrest.
Search.
It's search for her property.
Okay, so
A search for her property. So their plan was to go in there. Now, when they got there, right, they said that they knocked. Now we don't know. It seems like that's murky.
even if they knocked, I don't open the door for you. Okay.
Yeah, even if they knocked, but they had a no knock warrant to enter.
Those are the things that need to be
to be fixed.
To be fixed.
Now,
That's what I'm saying.
Rand Paul passed the legislation, right?
Everyone blocked it.
They blocked it
Yeah.
for really.
Look, like,
You see, they already tried fixing that no knock thing, so they blocked it. I thought it passed.
look. Here's the whole thing. What is supposed
Basically, Rand Paul passed a legislation that said that we can't do no knock warrants anymore. 'Cause I remember the minute it happened, he tried to pass it. So you're saying they blocked it?
You see, and that's
have been
Have
blocked.
been blocked.
and that's the problem is so because these things can lead to like okay fine, I'm not the guy you're looking for, but you want to search my property, it should not lead to me dying.
Absolutely.
So there should be
Absolutely.
a civil way, even if I refuse to open the door for you. There should be a way. Then at that point, maybe then you can say, okay, we've been at his house for a certain number of hours. He's not opened the door, but like we know these people, they're gonna come in barging with guns blazing, ready to go.
Let me just explain something and give some background.
Okay.
A reason why
Let me see if it can be heard.
like someone like Rand Paul will be very big on this is since the Obama years, the guy has been big about getting search warrants for anything. If you remember, he did that his whole, is it like 17 or 18 hour filibuster. And what was the core of what he was saying? He was like, even if the government is going after a terrorist, you have to use the Fourth Amendment, which says that
You do, and that's the point.
and basically, if we should tie what he was saying in 2013, which has to do with terrorism and things that go to Breonna Taylor, there is a line that connects everything, which is you must get a warrant.
A warrant, yes.
Which means that you should look at everything on a larger,
Yeah.
the bigger picture. The system increasingly is chipping away at anything which involves getting a warrant, either to tap people's phones.
Yeah, they
or
do whatever they
anything.
want to do, and that's they give them so much power, so they can, and in the process they're protected because they know we no knock warrant, so we're gonna break down the house, and at the end of the day, she dies. You know, it is what it is. We had a right to be here.
It's unfortunate, Cha. It's
that's not, and so that's why I'm saying for me now. I know different people come with this thing at different angles. There are people who are tying it to just Breonna, everything. But for me, it's the bigger
It's an
picture.
accumulation.
You know, I don't know Breonna from anywhere, but I feel the pain of a family that your child died. And she didn't, especially someone who didn't. Sure, her ex was wanted, but she wasn't the one wanted for the crime. So
No, she wasn't.
she can talk to the ex. He could have stayed there. That's not a crime. You know, she didn't want. But the fact that you only came there to search ended up in someone dying, and it wasn't the person who shot at you that died,
Yeah.
because it was an innocent bystander. Then there's an issue that has to be dealt with. So if it could be abolishing no knock warrants, if it could be stricter rules, and that's why. So I feel like a police officer getting locked up in this case is either Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, is not solving Breonna Taylor, George Floyd's issue, but it's the next
It's
officer.
like the policy.
It's
The policy
it comes,
needs to be changed.
you know that now
For the
there's a
record, though,
responsibility.
so one of the cops did get charged
for the
but-
shots he did not, he shot.
for
the miss.
they called it wanton
Which is
endangerment.
technically you shooting randomly.
Shooting randomly, yeah.
So it's like basically the quote unquote he got arrested for what did people say? The shot that did
The
not
shot
hit her.
that didn't hit
See,
her,
that's
yeah.
basically what it was.
Well, I'll also just add something real quick, and you're talking about the even bigger picture, like where I have my gripe with all the protests over police brutality and things like that. People are not looking at the very big picture, like the really big picture, like over here, the real big issue, really speaking, is the war on drugs. Like that is the big look.
Yes, the war on drugs
if-
is
if you want to reduce police having horrible interactions with people, not great,
We need to change the
and the war on
But-
drugs tomorrow.
but unfortunately you can't. That's money for them right there. Like war on drugs is a big.
It's an industry.
It's an industry. It's an industry, bro.
In the same way we have a military-industrial complex, and we have to keep going to these wars to prop them up.
Yeah.
a
It's an
similar
industry.
way-
You
it's
have
a similar way.
like you have the
There's so many
prisons.
economic interests.
Yeah, if you end it, so many people will lose out. So
We're never gonna
you
solve
can't
these
end the war
problems
of
anytime
drugs.
soon.
It's not. It's just. It's a thing.
regardless
that,
of which president is
of
in.
which president, it's always going to be there. The war on drugs is the
unfortunate.
excuse. It's a money-making industry itself. So, what do you do? But I feel police needs to be policed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The army has military police who police them. So
Yeah, the military police, their sentencing is like crazier.
they don't. Those guys don't play.
Add, like,
I mean, even though they still have their things going on.
Like the soldiers you say in Afghanistan, Iraq, and things like that. Like those guys can't just fire anyhow, or they'll be caught.
No,
Like,
no, they
there are
can't.
actually
Yeah, there's
strict
there's strict guidelines.
Like, for example, if they should go to some village in Afghanistan, and even if they can see Taliban,
They need to get.
and
They can't just open
and
fire.
and they are not carrying weapons or opening fire. Those guys can't just kill